my goodness, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the E2B podcast. I was literally about to say to the Bettina podcast. I'm not even joking. I don't even know why that just came out of my mouth, y'all. Thank you for tuning in this week. We actually have Bettina M. Jones. That's why I was thinking about the Bettina podcast. But, you know, she's here on the podcast. I'm really excited. The work she is doing for Black and Brown women is amazing. And I can't wait for you all to hear it as it relates to liberation. And her story as well, and how she started this whole program based off her actual lived experience. So Bettina, thank you so much for being here on the podcast. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you, Alicia.
Oh, you are so excited. So as you know, this whole idea around liberation, it's been a thing that's kind of like grappling in my mind as we see different things happening just in everyday society. And just wondering what that looks like for each and every person, because it's different for everyone, right?
Yes.
To say that my idea of liberation would be yours, it's different. And so I've been loving these conversations because not only are our ideas different, to some degree, we all come together with something common as it relates to it. So for you as a business owner, right, and starting your actual coaching, was this something that was built around the idea of liberating either yourself or others or both, right?
Yes, absolutely. Just a touch of a backstory. So I worked in corporate for over 20 years, and I always saw, I'm a life coach, and I always thought that executive coaches were not for me because I looked around my company, and although we had a Black CEO, predominantly it was white men and women that were in the leadership positions. So
Right.
my thinking was, I could never have a coach, or coaching's not for me.
Right.
Or that's not for me. That's for other people, other.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I started having conversations with other people years later, them saying, you should be a coach. And I looked at the industry. I didn't see a lot of Black and Brown men or women that were coaches. So again, that's not for me.
Right.
So I had this mindset of scarcity and very limited seeing because I didn't see representation.
Right.
And representation, seeing someone that looks like you is liberation.
Yes.
You hear it all the time, whether it's in acting, look at Viola Davis, whether it's in sports, not so much in some of the popular sports here in the US,
Right.
or in writing, literature, the arts, all that. If we don't like growing up, the closest person I could identify with was probably Wonder Woman because she had brown hair. I didn't see any Black women.
Right.
So why would I be involved or interested in the arts unless it was a passion, which it wasn't? So to me, it's always about representation. And that's how I got into coaching. And that's how I developed my program. I'm like, I want women of color to know they are, I don't want to use the word entitled, they have the right to have a life coach, just like they have the right for a therapist or to move more, to go outside. I live in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, we can go on hikes too, Right. So liberation, that's what it means for me, like seeing representation. And I love seeing organizations, small and large, like, hey, we're here.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that answer. And I also love on your website, when I saw this particular, I guess you're going to say it's a slogan, but it says, making room to see yourself. And that's basically what you're saying here. It's like giving people the opportunity to see themselves in a way that allows them to expand. Because a lot of times, like you said, that whole idea around representation, if I don't see it, how is it possible for me And
Hmm.
then on top of that, it's like, okay, now that it's possible for me, let me make room for myself. Let me see myself in this and expand and learn more about myself. Because I think a lot of times we're just kind of like going through the motions, looking externally at, what our traditional societal norms are, and not taking time to see, who am I as a Black and
Hmm.
brown person? Who am I as a either if you're female presenting, whatever, who am I? And I think that's so important. I love that slogan that you have on your website. It hit me so hard. I was like, yes, I love this.
Thank you. Thank you. And I like, along with that, like, making room for ourselves means making room for our emotions, our
Mm,
thoughts, our feelings, accepting our natural hair if
yeah,
that's what we desire, accepting our bodies. You know,
yeah.
I there have been decades where my body weight has fluctuated, and
Hmm.
always trying to go for like a size 6 or size. I'm not that size. I could be, but maybe a 10 or a 12, and I'm larger than that now, is what I need to be. And I could still take up space. I could still be in the room. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean that I have a defect. It doesn't mean that my health is not well.
right.
So yes, and it is a journey, especially for our emotions, because I'm sure you've experienced this, Alicia. Like, when you try something new, self-criticism comes in, or some self-doubt, or even our support people or people in our lives are, why are you doing it like that?
Mm,
Who do you think you are?
yes.
And that's where we, need to start digging for the gold
Yeah.
within,
Yeah.
like, and finding that courage and our own integrity.
I love that. And it's funny too, because like I told you before, y'all, we were, before I hit record, I was telling Bettina that I was looking at her website and I was like beyond impressed. I was like, this is me. I was like reading all these things. I was like, yep, that's me. And, yeah. And
Oh,
the reason, and I didn't say this to you before I hit record, but the reason why I was saying yes, yes, yes to everything is I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 degrees. Yeah. And,
whew.
and that's not to be like, oh, I have five
Wow.
degrees. But I'm saying that to say, after I got my doctorate, and I still was this person that is still dealing with all the things and still trying to be seen in, my profession and all this. It's like,
Mm.
what am I doing? Like, why am I like fighting so hard against the system that's like either not really wanting me there or whatever that is, right? It's like, are these degrees the thing that's going to make me, or am I looking for something that's really within me that I just haven't discovered yet? And do you find that with clients that you work with that have like, pushed themselves, either having all the degrees or trying to make, go up that corporate ladder, and still it's like, okay, what the hell am I doing? Like, what is
Yes.
going on?
What the hell am I doing? What's going on? And when will they recognize this? When will
Yes.
I be seen? I have had clients like that, and I've also had that's been my experience.
Yeah.
Like, after I got my degree and I've gotten to, I was working for a very big financial service organization, and I wanted to do events, and I was on the event team, but they wouldn't allow, like,
Yeah.
the opportunity wasn't unfolding. So I was like, I'm going to go to NYU and get a certificate. $10,000 later,
Mm,
it's almost like, for me, the experience was, I was looking for validation and saying, here's my credentials.
yes.
Now give me the opportunity. And so it's a very fine line. Like, I
Mm,
don't know why I didn't receive opportunities, or why you may or may not have received opportunities, but
right.
it's like there's this belief system that if we get another degree, another certificate, we will be recognized. We will, like, the doors will open, and it's not just that. It may be a part of it,
Right.
but it drove me even to, that's why I became a master life coach. Like,
Hmm.
becoming a life coach wasn't good enough. I was like, I never got my master's, so let me get a master's in life coaching. And I'm
Okay.
grateful that I did.
Right.
It expanded my knowledge, but I'm going to use it. And I get to define it for myself. And I came into trouble with the organization that I went to life coach school for. Not trouble, but because I was only Black woman
Mm.
in my cohort. And so again, I had to push, like, no, well, why are we doing it like that? Thank you for your feedback, but that doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
That's not seen well when we talk, when we show our own integrity and don't align with other people's opinions, which is personal.
Right.
It's not objective.
And that's what's so interesting with me when it comes to certain coaching programs. I'm like kind of veering off because when once you brought that up, I was like, yes, because I've been
Sorry,
in. No, I
sorry.
love it. This is
Because
this
there's no representation or very little. It's
very
growing,
it's
but
growing, but it's very little. And I have been in coaching programs, basically being the only Black person in the cohort, and because my experience as a Black woman, I'm a Black lesbian woman. My point of view is it's going to be different, and whatever I bring to the conversation, it's going to be different, and that's okay. And like value that as opposed to being like, yeah, that's not what they said. That's not that's not what we're supposed to. And I'm like, that's okay, but it's okay to take in, the information that I'm providing. You can take it or leave it, but I want to be a part of this whole. We're a group, right? So it's like
yes,
it can be
the
hard in that way.
conversation.
Mhm.
It is. It is. It's a challenge,
Yeah.
and um, it's really in terms of like liberation too. Like, I don't know if you saw the quote that I also have. Like, I'm tired of being strong.
Yes.
Like, we have, regardless of our blackness, our sexual identity, our brownness, we have the right to define how we want to live our lives.
Right.
And we have the right to join conversations from our perspectives and our point of views.
Mm.
It may be different from the patriarchy. Well, yeah. And
Right. Right.
so like I love freedom fighters. I don't always understand, but I do love it. And that's what we have to be for ourselves, with
Mm.
gentleness. With
Yes.
gentleness. Like, we're allowed to make mistakes. We're
Mm.
allowed to, like, in seeking liberation or standing in liberation. Um, and let's say, okay, you mentioned you have multiple degrees. And I want to say congratulations, because I know that's not easy.
Thank you. Yeah.
Regardless of the reasons,
Right.
that's something no one could ever take away from you.
Right.
And I don't know what those degrees are, but you have every right to walk away and change your lane and say, okay, like, let's say you were a therapist.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a therapist anymore. I want to be an artist. That is liberation.
Right. Mm.
And you might have to come up with a plan. Like, maybe you could do it tomorrow, like completely switch, or like myself, I work for a university, and as I'm building my coaching business, maybe I could go to part-time and start building I'm making my steps for liberation,
Right.
a deeper liberation. We all can't do eat, love, and pray, right?
Right.
I would love to, if someone would pay for me my salary for a year and fly me and my dogs to India and Africa and Italy.
Right.
I'm all for it. But we can make our own pockets of eat, love, pray, and liberation,
Right.
with our plans, and know that things come up.
Yeah.
Things come up, but we're human.
Mm.
We have value. We exist. And liberation is such a beautiful word, like
Yes.
liberation. That's 3 syllables, and
Right.
it's deep.
Mm.
It's very deep.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you brought up the idea around of, changing course, because I feel like sometimes some of us, and I'm talking about myself, I won't say some of us, I'll just say Alicia. I am a nurse practitioner,
Mm.
and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, of my doctorate in nursing practice. But once I got those, I got my degree, I thought that was just my only track, right? And I have a doctorate, so it's like, why would you veer off, Alicia? What are people going to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, you've done all this work in nursing. What are you doing? And like, what are people going to say? You know, listen, It's fine.
What?
The people who listen to my podcast, they know it's life. Things bug.
Yes.
It's what it is.
Well, but that's rich, right? What are people going to say? Like, who are those people? For me, not so much my family because they're very supportive. My
Yeah.
siblings, um, but my managers, my former mentors, my former um, as well as if we are black or brown, as well as the white gays. What are people
Hmm.
going to say?
Yeah.
What's interesting, I find in that, or I found in my experience, um, a lot of people, regardless of their background, when I wanted to make a change, like I should let me preface this by saying, in 2016, I also made a big change. Like, I was born and raised on the East Coast,
Okay.
and I decided that life was great, everything was wonderful, but I needed something else, and I didn't know what that something else was. And
Mm.
so I moved across the country by myself. I
Wow.
kept my job for probably 6 months, but for me, it was so freeing to do something new, unexpected. I didn't know anybody to the city that I was, but it was so freeing. And it also meant I was extremely lonely for a good year. And
Yeah.
then I had to find my new friends, my pockets, my communities. But it was so liberating, and I would do it again. And in fact, I'm going to do it again next year. But still, like, liberation comes in different doses. And
Right.
without making that change, I don't think I ever would have become a life coach. So
Mm.
sometimes we make steps for freedom and liberation, and we might have one idea. I was like, I was one of those ride or die. I'm corporate all the way. It has my benefits, my salary, my this, my bonus. Yeah, that's not enough, and it didn't make me happy. And I
Mm.
went on trips. So liberation could be from even our lifestyles, our not just where we live, who we're involved in, all of these things. So that was a big jump for me, and it was scary. Um, I know I didn't know how I would land. Could I take care of all these doubts and things? But it worked out incredibly, and I have no regrets. I learned a lot about myself, and that too is liberation.
Yeah.
Like, learning how we move through the world. How do we want to move through the world?
Mm.
So I always encourage, like, if it's okay, I want to share something about a former
Yeah.
client. She too, she wasn't a woman of color, but she is a woman, and she got her master's later in life. She was working in finance, and she didn't know why she wasn't happy. So we started to talk in a coaching session. I was like, "Well, what made you happy, like, in high school?" She's like, "Oh, I was in the band, I was singing, I was on stage." And she had worked so hard to get herself through her master's and land her job that she forgot about her creativity. And
Mm.
then, like, probably within the next month of our coaching sessions, she had joined um, a, a school, actually the School of Rock, to learn music again, songwriting, and start performing. And she's like, I was born to be on stage. And so she's making a plan to, she's like, I want to be a singer songwriter. And I think I could do it. And so and it just opened up a whole new world. Whether she does that or not, she's involved in her creativity and has more joy and liberation in her life.
Yeah.
And it's just a small shift, but
Mm.
it opened up this world of possibilities.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that. She was fearless in her pursuit. And we do need to get in contact with that fierceness within ourselves, and with being fearless, even if it means, just thinking of another client who, she had a beauty brand. She was a woman of color, Black woman, and she had an opportunity to present in front of a organization, uh, like, pitch her products.
Right.
And when we were talking and coaching, she's like, I don't like public speaking. I don't want to talk. Look at me. I'm a dark skinned Black woman with locks. And I was like, well, what is this program? And it was specifically designed to uplift women of color because they wanted to diversify their brands. So that alone we just caught that thought.
Mm.
You are what they're looking for.
Yes.
That was liberation for her. Like, because we I get caught in my own thoughts and thinking
Yep.
people won't want this. Who's gonna like? And thank you for. I'm sorry, I'm jumping. I get
No, I'm
excited.
loving it. This is how I think too. So
Um,
you're in good company.
like, thank you for the confirmation of saying thank you for like when you read through my website and you saw you, because when I developed that with my marketing coach, I was like, who's gonna want this? Who?
Right.
This is my story, and we don't ever know how we are supporting each other,
Mm.
cheerleading each other on, recognizing each other. And that's how it was with my client. Like they wanted what she had. And she
Mm.
was like, but I'm not enough. I'm not white. I'm not blonde. I'm not this. I was like, that's not what they're looking for, and that's not what's needed.
Right.
So, and that was her point of liberation of like, oh, it was amazing to witness on Zoom, like that shift in
Mm.
her, mindset. A lot of coaches use that, but it's true. Like her thinking, like it was like if we, old time records, when we put
Yeah.
the needle down, it was literally picking up the needle and moving it to a new track. And
Mm.
I was like, ooh, and she rocked it. She rocked it.
I love that.
Um, and it's not about whether she was accepted in that program or not.
Mm.
She had clarity and freedom. So then it's like, okay, you did it here, you could do it other places.
Wow. Oh no, go ahead. I love that. But go
No,
ahead.
no, that was it. That was it. Like,
No, I love that because it's like I think some people basically what you're saying is like they kind of feel like, I'm not what they want, I'm not worthy. And this could be even in their workplace. So it's like, okay, I just need to just take what they give me and
mhm,
and just not complain because you used to say that that I could actually do this somewhere else. And it's like, no, you can. Who you are and your worth
yes.
beyond your credentials, you are enough and somebody wants you, and clearly you're wanted where you are. Maybe you don't feel as appreciated, but somehow
Mhm.
you're needed in some capacity.
Yes, yes. And I mean, I don't know, I don't remember what report it was, but like, let's say specifically Black women,
Hmm.
like there's been, oh, I'm going to call it a revolution. I think maybe 30%. They don't want me. They're not needing, they don't acknowledge me. I'm going to start my own.
Mm.
And that is powerful.
Yeah.
Like to take that chance financially, which hits on could hit on our, hits on my scarcity mentality of
Yes.
finances, security, safety. Will I be able to pay for my housing? Will I be able to put food on the table? All these things, but
Mhm.
still there's something in there and within that says, I need to do this. Like this is part of my purpose or my mission. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that someone, if they're in let's say a corporate environment, that they can't shift their role or have a conversation with their manager and like, I see a need in this. I want to create a team that can fill this need.
Right.
Like, and finding our voices to say, yes, I'm here. I witnessed this. I noticed this.
Right. No, I love that. And another thing, I wanted to go back because when you said this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. I was literally thinking, kind of not reversing ourselves or kind of like resorting to being a child, but it's like a lot of our creativity, a lot of things. When you said, what were you like in high school? What were your interests in high school? Or even sometimes even younger, that fire and that passion that you have as a young person,
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes, and you let me know what you think. I feel like sometimes we are put in a position to think we have to quote unquote grow up, right? You know, and we lose a lot of that fire and passion, and we just kind of like put on this straight laced front, and I am, whatever. And it's like, no, you don't have to be a child because it's clear by the way we look, we're not children anymore. But like, how do we convince those that have lost that creativity to kind of like tap into that inner child and bring out some of the passions that they had as a child that brought them so much joy?
Yeah. I mean, there are many ways, many. I
Right.
mean, one thing I do for myself I mean, there are questions. Like a coach can ask
Mm-hmm.
questions to help get you there, which is fantastic. And for me, it was essential.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes it could be like going on a weekend retreat alone or
Yeah.
having a retreat in the house. I've done in-house retreats where I journal. I don't I'll mute my phone. I don't watch TV. And it's always nice when if you have the opportunity to go away, even if it's in a cabin or a hotel room where you could get back in touch and like slow down. I personally feel there has to be time and space created out like pockets outside of our everyday life
Mm.
and get support, find support people to help encourage and enrich that, because it's not easy. Like we're in every day, we get up at a certain time, we have our breakfast, we commute to the office or stay at home, and so we have our rhythm and our routine, and it's stepping outside of our routine
Mm.
where we could, oh, I remember I used to me I used to go dancing. Like I was in tap, ballet, and jazz,
Right.
and I loved it. It wasn't my passion. However, I found belly dancing.
Oh,
It's right down the street from my house, and I love it. And I'm not good at it, but I love moving,
yes.
and I love watching my instructors because they're showing, and it feels like this joy of movement. And will I be a dancer? No, that's okay. But it
Right.
still gives me joy. And I remember being in dancing school, and I loved my teacher when I was in dancing school as a child.
Oh.
So there, like sometimes it could be just journaling.
Mm.
What brings me joy? Being quiet.
Mm.
See what comes up from like internally and from your soul. Music. Oh, I used to listen to, I don't know, Michael Jackson, and so it's like it could be a string of things and a ways to get there, but my primary my primary tools as a coach is asking powerful questions
Mm.
and not giving answers, but allowing the client to like, yeah, I used to like coloring. And this is me. I used to like coloring. I got adult coloring books, and what I pull it out once a week. Doesn't mean, but I just to like sit there and fill in the lines and like make something beautiful. I haven't finished one picture, and I've had it for 5 years.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
It balances something. It gives me
Mm.
happiness. It gives me joy. So it there are things, and some people I want to acknowledge as well, some people did not have like joyful moments in their childhood. They
Mm.
might have had traumatic things, and so now they have an opportunity to discover who they are now, what brings them joy or what could
Right.
bring them joy.
Right.
Going through a catalog of uh you know I'm from the East Coast originally, so I would go through catalogs like of like centers that were in New York, or in like, oh, someone has a meditation class. I'm going to go. I don't know what that's about. And going, and then finding something else that was hidden inside that I didn't know wanted to be fostered and developed or explored. Doesn't mean that I have to follow it,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, there are multiple ways, but it's really creating the time within ourselves and allowing
Mhm.
that expression, that time,
Right.
whether we have children, dogs, husbands, wives, communities that we're supporting. If we're empty, how can we really truly give?
Right. Right. And I love that. I don't know if would you mind? There is a section. Listen, I love your website. And I keep
Oh,
saying that,
thank
but it's so
you. Thank
serious.
you so much.
I really do. There's a section, y'all. When you get a chance, I'm gonna share Bettina's website on in the show notes. But there's a section you have, it's called My Self-Love Rituals. These are actual rituals that Bettina, these are her actual rituals. And the last part, I mean, there's 4 different rituals, but there is um, I guess like a quote here. Do you mind if I read that?
Please do.
Oh my goodness. It says, I'm learning how to ask for help to support my sovereignty. My intention is to heal from a dominant culture that doesn't support, acknowledge, or accept me. I have a healing team to remind me of my purpose, a community of true friends, practitioners, and I acknowledge the privilege of having a therapist. I am cultivating a community and it's a total love affair. I when I read that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful." And
Thank you.
it like I have goosebumps. I'm not even joking because it really gives me, and I'm pretty sure other people when they see that, the opportunity to realize that I can also have that.
And that's why I put it on there.
Yeah.
That's why. Like, I, like I haven't. I think we all have. I think we all. Well, I know we all need healing teams.
Mm,
We do. We need our um, go-to friends that will listen when we're yelling or saying, I need you to just listen. Don't give me any advice. And
right.
that include my therapist. That include a food and body therapist to help me learn how to eat better, not without going on a diet. That includes my chiropractor. That
Mm,
includes my massage therapist who gives me a discount because we barter. Like
right.
there are ways, but like determining who we need to support us, and it is a love affair. Like
Mm,
I mentioned to you, like I broke my ankle at the end of last year, and I was really afraid for my dogs. I have 2 little dogs. I was like, who's going to walk my dogs? Because I can't. And I thought I would have to give them back to the rescue temporarily while I heal. But my neighbors stepped up without me asking. I was like, let us walk your dogs for you.
oh,
They were my support and healing team for 3 months, two specific. Someone drove me to all my appointments without wanting anything in
mm,
return.
mm,
They are a part of my healing team.
yeah.
Like, and sometimes we have to ask for help. Often,
Hmm.
I couldn't clean my apartment. I have to. I found someone that I could hire to come in and clean my apartment for me
Yeah.
at a reasonable price.
Mm,
That's
right.
love. Like
Yeah.
that's self-love. Like, okay. I mean, I'm like, I think I want to keep them on, bring them in once a month.
Right.
We take
Right.
pride cleaning our places, taking care of everything, making sure everything's tight and neat. And we don't have to do it alone. We
Mm,
we cannot do it alone. Actually, we can't do it alone.
yeah.
We can't. We really can't. I can't. I
Right.
can't. I'll
Right.
use eyes. I can't. I thought I it, it it's a heavy price to bear. And so how do we love ourselves?
Mm. And I think thank you for saying that in that way because I feel, and this is me. In the past, I felt like I had to do everything by myself. I
Hmm.
had to get it done. I had to get it done because
Yes.
who's going to do
And
it?
get it done right. Yes.
That
Yep.
part, yes, I will get it done right. I don't want you to disappoint me, and it's like I think that's just something that's instilled in a lot of black and brown women. It's like you just got to get it done.
Well, I was listening to a podcast a couple of years ago, and it was 2 Black women talking like us, and one of them said, "I learned through therapy that independence is a trauma response,
Mm,
and I'm fiercely independent. I'm learning to see again. You know, there's edges. Someone's coming to clean my place tomorrow for 2 hours. Very new for me, but because I was hurt in the past by, not feeling like I had emotional support in my immediate family. So I'm not going to show that emotion. I'm going to do this myself.
mhm,
So it's a pain within that has made us, from society, from our families, from our own experiences, that made me independent
Mm,
because I didn't think I could rely or trust or receive support without unrealistic expectations to pay
right,
it back.
right.
So I think as Black women or brown women or immigrants, we are siloed.
Yeah,
Um, I have a friend who is an immigrant to Canada, pardon me, and she works with a lot of immigrant individuals who think that they have to work 2 to 3 jobs to prove their value, even
mm,
though they're working themselves to death.
yeah,
That's not a way to live.
yeah,
Like finding ways to relieve, and it's trauma. It's all trauma.
yeah,
Whether it being uprooted, or I mean, whether we grew up with single parent homes, two parents, a foster system, our
yeah,
whoever our primary caretaker. It doesn't mean, but trauma can be addressed and it can be explored. And one thing I discovered over the past year, everybody has trauma.
yes,
If we were born, we have experienced trauma, because that would be I have never had children, but that's a traumatic experience. It's also beautiful and loving, but we're in
right,
a safe cocoon place, and now we're out in the world untethered.
right.
And we might not remember it, but still it is a traumatic experience. Being in a car accident, being yelled at by an instructor when we were growing up, or made fun of because we were slightly different, that we internalize that and it becomes trauma. And I just heard this amazing therapist yesterday. She talked about trauma, and she said the thing about trauma is we didn't have an empathic witness
Mm,
to whatever was traumatizing to us. And
yeah,
that's where we hold on. And that could
yeah,
be a myriad of things.
right.
And that's what we have to, not have to, that's the wrong word. That's what we have the opportunity to explore and say, oh, yeah, I, I fill in the blank.
Right.
I, and I don't like it. Why am I doing it? Like questioning why we do certain things in our lives.
Yeah.
Why do we cook the meat the same way as our mothers did, who learned it from their,
Right.
grandmother and things? And there could be a simpler way
Right.
or an easier way.
Right. 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 Right.
Sorry. Like,
No,
I don't have to soak the beans. I could buy canned, it won't taste the same, but still,
still that's
sometimes in
not
a jam.
right. No, I love
So,
that. And I feel like, especially when it comes to trauma, like it's funny because like I said, I'm 45 and I'm just now really learning about the idea of trauma, right? And how it impacts my life and everyone's lives, right? I just thought, I just had these things happen in my life and whatever, get over it, right?
that's what we're told.
Yeah.
But pull yourself up by your own pants, or move on, or rise above,
Mhm.
go above and beyond, let it go, forgive,
Right.
without ever acknowledging the emotions
Right.
within our body that our bodies hold.
Right.
I'm sorry. You
No,
go ahead.
you're good. No, I love this because as you're saying that, you're like allowing your body to release that. That's another form for me of liberation. I actually did some somatic work.
Oh, I love somatic work.
It was life changing.
May I ask what kind of somatic work?
They were called somatic meditations.
Mm,
And I want to do more of the body work, but that was just like my entry into this whole work because I didn't even know about somatic work. Period. I had no idea. I signed up for an emotional eating coach because I've struggled with eating, and a part of her program involves somatic meditations. And I was like, I guess fine, whatever. Like,
I'll
okay,
try it.
I'll try it. I mean, I paid for it, so fine,
But that's it, right? Like the investments we make in ourselves, and I don't know, or sometimes in my head, I'm like, white people do that, not me.
Right. And that was it. I was like, okay, this is probably some white people stuff. Fine, whatever. I'll just do it, and not realizing, no, this is a human thing that everybody should do or possibly consider doing. I'm not saying you should do it, but think about it, because the work that I did within that meditation, those sessions, it was life changing. And I want to continue on doing it, but I'd never heard of it.
Yeah. I've never heard of that, but like there's that. Um, there's breath work. I don't
Yes.
know, holotropic breath work.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my go-tos. I do
Mm-hmm.
that at least once a month. I try and do it twice a month, where it's somatic, where um I'll share this, and it's released trauma that I didn't even know I was carrying. It, like sometimes we have, not, I don't want to say stories, we have actual events that have caused trauma. And some trauma that we hold is collective, meaning like you may hold trauma, like you and I may hold trauma for Black women from the last 300 years
Yeah.
without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Our ancestral trauma, where we live. If we live in southern states, there could be more racial trauma than
Right.
other locations, and we don't know that it's within us.
Mm.
I have experienced through breath work tears, like literally. I was there. I was like, well, "Why am I crying? Like, what's happening to me?" And like, and then giving myself like, I do breath work home alone, like on Zoom with different groups, and I just started sobbing, and I was in my bed. When it was over, there was so much deep rest in my body, and I went with it. I was like, "Oh my God, are my neighbors hearing me? All these things. My dogs are sitting next to me." Uh, and it was like something had to be released. And I applaud you for exploring that.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to say too, somatics as well, just to say it's pathways to liberation, and
Yes.
also I think collectively as Black and Brown identifying people, acknowledge that often white people are, leaders in these, but they did not create the systems.
Yeah.
They originated from, it could be from India, it could be from Africa, it could be from different cultures. It's just white people jump on things and like, boom,
Right.
it's not. That often these are created by indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say that is a point of acknowledgement, because
Yeah.
the word, everybody doing yoga now, which originated, I believe, from India, but there are other cultures who also,
Right.
um, but what is it when white people latch onto things and
Cultural
act like they,
appropriation.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, the term. So all these things. So, but breath work and somatic
Oh,
meditation, like something, you know, something, but you had courage to try it.
yeah.
Even though you paid for it, you said, okay, I'll try. Like still, those
Mm-hmm.
are the things, like take a chance.
Yeah.
Take a chance. That's the biggest thing, especially for liberation.
Yes.
We have to be courageous within, and not for anybody else, but for ourselves.
Yes.
So brava.
Thank you.
Woo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woo.
It was something, like you said, in terms of like that idea of just liberating myself of things that I didn't even know were still affecting me.
Yes.
I was like, I'm still holding on to that. I had no idea. And this is why I'm blocked here, here, and here in my life, right? It was
And
wild.
and why would you have any idea?
Mm,
Well, you were never given the time and space,
yeah.
even as a nurse who's in a healing field and helping people move through whatever physical trauma they experience. But trauma too, it's what is it? It's physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional. I remember the first time someone told me, like, you experienced trauma. I was like, I did?
Right.
Where? How?
Right.
No, he just pulled my, whatever.
Right.
But like we I will, um because of different traumas that might have seemed small, I will not either express myself. I won't try something new. I don't feel I have the right to try something new. I'm
Mm,
too afraid. I remember one time I wanted to take swimming lessons, and the pool that I wanted to go to, or the booklet said it was in a certain town back east. I was like, oh no, that's too white, too rich. I'm not going there. But I caught the thought and I
mm,
mentioned it to a friend, and she's like, no, you have to go.
right.
And so I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be the only black woman there. It's going to be all these old white women. Or whatever the story was. I went there and there were people of color. And like, so sometimes as a culture, we could talk ourselves out of trying something new.
Yes. Yes.
And it was a liberating experience to walk. I mean, I was afraid, but once I saw that there were other people, it eased me. It
Yeah.
eased my fears.
Yeah.
um I don't know, do you travel?
Yes.
'Cause, like, have you ever experienced that, like going to, let's say, another country or another town, and
Yeah.
because movies portray it as all white,
Right.
and then you get off the plane and it's like, oh, somebody looks like me, and it's like, oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. So wild. And even beyond the travel, like I have to say, like, this is like I tell the story all the time. My wife is from Southampton in New York. And for those who are listening outside of like New York City
The
or the
Hamptons.
area, the Hamptons, and I know y'all have heard of the Hamptons. So my wife grew up in the Hamptons. And there are certain towns in the Hamptons. There's like Southampton, East Hampton, blah, whatever. So she tells me she's from Southampton. And I'm like, she's a black woman. And so I was just like, what? Like I couldn't wrap my head around that there were black people in the Hamptons. You know?
Okay. I'm from Connecticut. I don't like telling people that
Right.
because I'm like, no, my family was not rich. My father was a carpenter. My mother was a grocery clerk. Like,
Right,
like
right,
because people. So I could see that. I was like, really, the Hamptons? She's black?
right, right. And it's so wild that like we will kind of like put this story in our heads of whatever we have or what not so much what we've actually put in our heads, but it's what we have seen in society, whatever type of adverts that are out there. And so it kind of allows us to create a story,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's like, that's not that particular thing that you were exposed to doesn't mean that's the collective,
At 100%.
you know?
100%. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. Oh my gosh, Bettina, I literally could talk to you all day. Like this
I
is
know. I'm like,
you
we're
are
gonna have to stay in touch.
yes, please,
I
please.
thank you so much
You are
for
so
this conversation. Like, you've made my day.
oh, I'm glad. I'm so glad. No, this was great. And y'all, I know I keep going back to her website, but like I said, I'm gonna share her website info on here. But there's a section, the resources section, and a lot of the stuff that we were just talking about is all there. She has so many resources. So please do yourself a favor and look at that. I mean, you're so gracious to even have that. Like, it's beautiful. I was like, I can't not say that. You know, you'll share all your
Oh,
info, but I was like, please go to the resource section because there's so much information that will be beneficial to you and maybe somebody else. You know,
right. And that's why I wanted to do that, and why I have some other companies. I haven't touched my website in a little bit, but yes. And if I can ask, if anybody goes to the website, please sign up for my newsletter, because one of an action that I'm taking to be more seen so I could support more people is I'm going to begin writing a blog and newsletter, which is, making me really nervous, but
right?
that's my intention, because I feel part of my purpose and my mission is to support women of color, because that's what I am, and I'm doing it for myself and those who will come after me as well, and without any pride or anything like that. But like, if something could support somebody, and like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
like I believe in reciprocity and abundance in the universe, and that's how that manifests for me. So, and I don't need to be known, but like, part of giving,
I
it's
love
part
that.
of giving. So,
And then beyond your website, are there any other places where people can find you, like social media, anything like that, or no?
I am on LinkedIn and I'm happy. Like, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. My
Okay.
social media, I am not like, I have Instagram and I have Facebook, but they're all like my personal. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like Meta. I don't want Mark Zuckerberg in my business.
I hear.
So, eventually, I hope to have a YouTube channel where I just have conversations,
Yeah.
either by myself or with other people. And I'd love to
Yeah.
have you. And it
Oh,
might be a year from now, but like, and just conversations
yeah.
like with women of color, and like, let's talk about this. Like
Right.
you had the idea. Let's talk about liberation, which,
Right.
so
Yeah.
yes.
Well, that is great. And I will share all this in the show notes, y'all. Bettina, thank you so much again. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia.
You are welcome. Y'all, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Edie Podcast. I will see y'all next week.